Just now. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. We're going to get started in a moment. If you're watching the recording, we're doing live streams generally weekly. And through September, we're doing them on Friday. There's the Zoom link that you can see there in the chat. That'll take you to join this meeting where you can ask your questions aloud. And also, we take written questions depending on the capacity of the Zoom room. Sometimes we don't get to all the written questions because Zoom can sometimes fill up. So write your questions and we may get to them, or ask your questions aloud and we can get to much greater detail. The most important thing for your participation is that you mute yourself when you're not speaking. Otherwise, we get a lot of feedback and sounds that kind of disturb the stream. So please do pay attention and stay muted. There we go. So this is the website. And here you can sign up for the email list, and this will let you know whenever we're going live. And things change often, so it's great if you sign up for the list. And there's information here on the channel course that's enrolling. If you want to learn how to channel and do intuitive healing with others, it's not just channeling guides, but it's learning how to read energy and live in an intuitive way. Private sessions are available, astrology readings, blah, blah, blah. I offer many things. And there's also the guidebook to Living Love on Earth. And the next tab, Abundance Teachings, is another channeled book from the Pleiadian Council that goes into great depth on all of the teachings that you can kind of get a broad spectrum approach. And even, for example, if you have the book, turn to a random page and it serves as your oracle or serves as the answer to questions that you may have. It's an amazing way of working with it. And the other book is about, it's especially for those who want to create their own path. And oftentimes when we're working with spirituality or creativity and our passion, as the Pleiadian Council suggests, we have to create our own way. And doing so to get into the frequency of abundance is necessary. And no one teaches the world. Oftentimes people are more inclined as they're taught to fit themselves in a box. So these are outside of the box teachings of how to work with the law of attraction and work most importantly with your own self-worth to find that magnetic energy. And that is included in that second book. And there's so much more that you can discover on the website. Anyway, I'm talking too much about all of that. And now we'll dive into the channeling. So ask your questions, and any questions are allowed. We do encourage people to frame their questions in a way that benefit everybody who might be watching. So this creates really beautiful content for the world. If you have personal questions, they're also welcome. And if you like to contribute donations for the personal support you receive, you're totally open to do that. I accept donations for these sessions, no pressure, but all generosity really fuels more depth and growth of this channel and the work that I'm able to offer to everyone. So I really appreciate it and really appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoy this transmission and that you find everything you need through it for this day.
Thank you, Dante.
Yeah. You want to say hi?
Oh, I'm going to say hi.
I'm here with Mahalo.
Hi, everyone.
And we're in Italy. And there's also another YouTube channel, podcast that we have created together that is called Answers from Other Worlds. And you can find that just by going to blissbeings.com. Maybe I'll put the link to it in the recording of this video later if you're watching the replay. So check that out. We're creating content regularly to help people go deeper into the Pleiadian Council's perspective and living a blissful life.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, so let's tune in.
Thank you.
Hello, and we say a fantastic day to you at this moment of your time. We are the Pleiadian Council, and we thank you for allowing this interaction to take place. It is always a gift to be able to connect with your world, as we also receive reflections from you that support us in deepening into connection with Source. In the same way, our core intention is that you, as humanity, deepen your connection to Source, in your remembrance that all is one, and that oneness exists within you. The clearest way of experiencing that is to act on your highest passion to the best of your ability without insisting on an outcome. And today we want to elaborate on a topic we have called individuating in order to collectivize. And here we come to help you, hopefully, go beyond the dualistic perspective that often challenges beings in your dimension. You consider often things are good or bad, right or wrong, and also there are so many other expressions of this, light and dark, masculine, feminine, and today we want to explore the idea of being individual versus collective, one versus group, self versus other. And with all of these dualities, we must say they are but illusions. There is no real separation between these opposite sides of the coin, opposing ends of the spectrum. And so, in order to be of greatest service to the all that is, what matters is that you raise your own vibration. You don't change the world. You come to inhabit a new version of the planet according to the way your vibration shifts. And as your core vibration shifts, so does the frequency of the beings around you. You are beings of frequency, and all frequency finds a point of harmonization naturally. There is no effort in this process, and this is why if you bring your awareness into your heart center continually, and you become aware of the actions, the ideas, the choices, the visualizations, the so on, all of the choices that resonate most with the core energy of bliss, of love, then your life will be an unending reflection of that energy. This is the purpose that you came here to experience. This is why you exist. You came to be who you are, and who you are is Source. We must tell a grand tale that is the tale of your very creation. Before there was material existence, there was a non-physical source this source essentially lacked a mirror of reflection. Because the source was all that existed, there was no point of self-reference. And then source came up with the idea, let's create, as a way that I, the source, may come to understand who I am more completely. In order for this understanding to be complete, there had to be the experience of a vast polarity. And hence, in entering physical reality, all beings that are fragments of that one source have to forget that they are the source and experience the dense polarity in order to go through the journey of returning into that state of remembrance that all is one. This is why you exist, so that you can remember that and help others remember that. And that allows for the source to know itself through its creation, to be able to see itself in its creation. And this is one of an infinite degree of creations. And the being that you are exists not just in this one, but in so many layers of this creation. The more you come to elevate to these frequencies of unconditional love and bliss, the more layers of this creation will you experience yourself as and within. Bliss is where you've come from, and bliss is where you are going. And it's the very purpose you've come to be here. There is a misinterpretation of bliss in your world that says ignorance is bliss. And that isn't ultimately true in this vast metaphysical perspective. Because, again, before Source created the physical reality and the all that is, Source was bliss, but without the reference of knowing darkness and shadow and pain and suffering, bliss could not be appreciated as completely for what it was. And that is why, again, beings of bliss, angels, beings like ourselves, those, again, who don't experience suffering and don't experience pain and are perpetually forever happy, watch your world as a giant reality TV show. We intervene in your world through influencing your consciousness, because that's the only way that we can actually have an influence, because this aspect of the duality of creation is our only reference point to understand the bliss, the light, the joy that we essentially are. And so everything in this way exists in a perfect sort of harmony, even though it doesn't seem that way at the time for some people who find themselves in experiences of suffering. Many have said in your world, knowing thyself is the path of spiritual awakening. And indeed, this is true. It is knowing your own bliss, what leads you to be blissful. Yet, the challenge is that many of you mistake this bliss for something outside of you. And the biggest mistake is seeing that this bliss somehow comes from other people. when you don't have the boundary of where you begin and others end, so to speak, or vice versa, where you don't know the difference between self and other, you cannot be around energies without letting them affect your frequency. And oftentimes you attempt to raise back into that frequency of love by doing whatever it takes to make the people around you happy, often at your own expense. And as you do this, you deny yourself the ability to know what works for me and what doesn't, what supports me in being in bliss, and what causes me to fall into a frequency of fear. And some of you describe this as codependence in your world, though there are many other expressions of this energy we will get to. We are not saying to become totally and completely selfish. No. Though you have to be brave enough to turn away from people who don't share the experience of passion for the things that you are passionate about, to find the people that do. This will happen naturally when you act upon your passion and when you share it with the world with no insistence on an outcome, risking embarrassment again and again, and oftentimes facing embarrassment, because after all, what lights you up isn't going to light everyone up. And sometimes people fail at the formula because they get caught in that cycle of insistence, and they choose instead to play a role for other people, giving them what makes those people happy instead of following the path of happiness within and walking it long enough that one can really attract people who share that deep passion for the same ideas, the same expressions. Some of you have already walked this path to great extent, and you found your niche, so to speak. You shine that light that is your unique expression of the source, and others flock to it. Others will continue to walk this path. Not all of you have the same soul destiny, you could say. And we want to let you know again, it does not matter if your light reaches millions or if it reaches just one other person. There are some souls who come into this world with a path simply to wake one person up. Indeed, this is true of some of the greatest geniuses in the world. They had a specific mentor who was a very isolated being. History does not remember these people, but without them and their choice to do what they loved, some of the greatest geniuses would have never existed. And so a huge issue is that many of you get caught in comparison, thinking You have to be at this huge level of success, internalizing society's ideas of success and comparing yourself to them, denying yourself of the potential for expansion into bliss that is forever possible in the here and now. Surrendering means knowing that the scope of your mission is far beyond your conscious understanding, and that feeling the presence of the light in your heart is enough of an indicator that you're on the right path, that it's safe to let go of all of the assumptions that you have about what your path needs to look like. Surrender completely to that light. The more you do this, the more you will tap into states of oneness with all. You will feel very little separation between yourself and the world around you in moments. This will not erase the sense that you are, after all, an individual being, but it will open you up to integrate this idea that you are both an individual and you are also the all that is. And this is true for every single soul. You are an individual being walking a path totally unique to you. And yet at the same time, you are that source who has come into physical reality so to know itself as all of the beings that exist. This understanding is a bit counter to what the more secular and the more religious as well, in the traditional sense, ideas of what it means to serve the greater good really is. Religion has some of the most distorted ideas of this of all, making people fall for the idea that if they only conform to one specific belief system, regardless of everything else, they will be saved. But in the end, that doesn't lead to a very fulfilling life at all, because actions are the language of physical reality and what allow you to raise to these higher frequencies of energy. Your beliefs determine your actions, though the belief that belief itself is enough to be blissful and happy will often limit you in your scope. The belief that you have to force other people to believe what you believe, and that is some service to them, is one of the greatest jokes that has been played out in your planet. There is, of course, many other ideas of how to serve others. These ideas often involve some degree of sacrifice of yourself. This concept of self-sacrifice is held up and pedestaled by many different groups of beings on your planet. The idea being that you have to let go of your own personal self and your own personal interests for the greater good of all. Doesn't really serve the benefit of the all. And most of the time, this idea serves instead the benefit of few who profit from those who make themselves smaller. When you give yourself over to the collective consciousness or a group consciousness, letting go of who you are for the sake of supporting some cause or some specific group of people, you will find that your emotions attune vibrationally to the collective and to those that you dedicate yourself to, you will find that the suffering of the collective becomes your suffering, that the pain, sometimes pain from far off places that you have never been to, travels inside of your body and works its way through you, finding an outlet for release. And these experiences have happened to many, especially during deep journeys, working with catalytic forces like plant medicines or things of this nature. People may find that pain that does not belong to them moves through their being. This happens because people have abandoned the idea of the individual, the idea of the self, the idea of the unique soul in its own connection. And this essence of who you are must be restored in order to create the boundaries that prevent you from taking on that collective pain. Instead of vibrating at the lower level frequencies, you will vibrate at a higher frequency and be able to lift others up to meet you. There are distorted belief systems in your world that say if you feel as bad as the people who are suffering most, you are helping them. And there's some truth that this points towards, but it is missing the mark. And that is, in order to help others, you have to understand their suffering. But understanding does not mean vibrating at that frequency, feeling it and living it as if it were your own. No, it means being able to see it as something outside of you, as something beyond the limits of your own individual soul. And then by creating that boundary, you gain the power to show others how to vibrate higher, how to match your frequency. You show them most simply by being an example, and your own intuition will guide you to be an instructor, to find the specific ideas that other people need to learn how to vibrate higher. Your own artistic ways will be ways that you transmit those energies and let other people feel the vibration. And those who really want to change will find a natural resonance that lifts them up. There is nothing you have to do but be guided by that frequency of love yourself. This alone is enough to change the world. And those of you who've embarked on this path know already. You've seen the world change around you. You've seen people around you change. You've seen so many things grow spontaneously. But you have to also know that those who do not want to raise in their frequency will be repelled by you. And some may even project their own negativity onto those who choose to raise their frequency and live in that energy of bliss. This is spoken of by many, and in messages we've shared about there being a splitting of the tracks, a splitting of realities, that on the very same planet, there is a new Earth and there is an old Earth sharing the same space. And you will see the animosity of the old Earth growing more and more for those who vibrate at the new Earth. They will come up with new names and new stories about
the new earth reality all the time. For those on the old earth, there's a war they are waging against the potentiality of the new earth. For those on the new earth, there is a dissolving taking place, a phantom effect, wherein the old earth that they can still perceive gets further and further away. And it is when you really let go of your attachment to the idea of other people lost on the old earth that they will, or another version of them, sometimes a walk-in soul version of them, can step up into the new earth. There will be a time delay for many when this happens, but for others it will be instantaneous. As soon as you truly let go of your attachment to them fading away into the old earth, you will see them rise up into the new earth. But more often, you will find that when you let go of the old earth identities and connections and past memories, new people come into your life that represent the frequency of love, joy, bliss in much clearer ways. And those who continue to vibrate at guilt, fear, paranoia, shame, anger will no longer be in your reality. It doesn't mean that you will never feel these emotions again, but they won't distract you from your remembrance of the love and the joy. You have to be, in a way, completely accepting of those frequencies and of those feelings as part of reality. And when you fully accept them, will be the moment that they stop distracting you. Because remember, bliss never goes away. Your focus simply shifts from it to a different point on the vibrational spectrum. And the vacillation between a high vibration and a low vibration takes place for many as they shift between the old earth reality and the new earth reality. It's a process that takes a different amount of time for all of you, but it is one of great fluctuation. Eventually you come to a point where you have absolute and total acceptance of every possible vibration on that spectrum. And that is the point that you no longer become distracted by the lower vibrations. And even though those old earth energies are still around you to some capacity, it's like you see right through them. This is what's happening on your planet. And this is what you have to remember, that you never, ever serve others or help them by matching their frequency. You can accept where they're at, and you will see right through them. And those who are ready will then come to match your frequency, not the other way around. This healthy boundary, this understanding that there is no others, and by knowing yourself, you'll change the world, will set you free. We guarantee it. We thank you for allowing us to share this message, and we ask, in which ways can we be of service to you with any of your questions, comments, musings, or inquiries at this moment of your time?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm going through premenopause right now,
All right.
and I'm on bioidentical hormones. My hormonal journey was really moved me through a lot of like depression and anxiety. This was like last year, and I've been getting the message that it's time to shift into something natural that will help balance out the hormones. But I wanted just some deeper insight into anything that you have to support my hormonal journey, as well as like the kind of like the purpose for my body moving through that. Should I allow myself to experience all of it? It is a lot. It takes me out of my channel. It takes me out of my intuition, and I'm constantly in like a hormonal, emotional state all the time. But yeah, I just wanted to get some insight and support on that.
Remember that in these emotional disruptions, you are also releasing something. So part of moving through this with greater ease is an acceptance of the necessity of releasing, that these flare-ups are not just something that is totally disadvantageous to you. It gives you the opportunity of releasing past pain. And this is a natural part of this cycle of life, that as you mature, your body triggers a sudden need to let go of everything that does not serve anymore. So make the space for this. And the best way to support the movement of these emotions is with the power of your breath and the intentional focus of relaxation. This means savoring those moments of self-care, hot baths, time in the spa, time in the sun by the sea, where you surrender and accept that being in bliss is your service to the world. Because part of the intensity of the anxiety that comes up sometimes is coming from the belief system that says, I can't be of service when I feel sad, confused, tired, or angry. And this lack of acceptance causes a greater tension to emerge in your field, causes a greater strife than what is necessary. And as you accept that your service to the world happens through your being, happens through your presence, and need not be some specific form of work or creative output, your body will unwind. And the intensity of the emotions that purge from you will soften. You might still feel the same things, but rather than it causing a huge wave through your day, there will be a softness that allows you to drop in, ease in, and surrender. So working with your breath is key for this. Doing some yoga style pranayama with emphasis on the exhalation is very important. That means longer exhalations than inhalations. There's several different types of breath work that fit into this model. It is slow, it is focused, with awareness on how the sensation of the breath moves through the body. Yoga Nidra will also help you very much at this time. In terms of herbs, there are 3 we suggest most. They are Shatavari, red maca, and Damiana. You can take Damiana as a tea, and Shatavari as a powder or a tea, and red maca as a powder. These will support you in the hormonal changes. Also, the yoga pose shoulder stand will be more beneficial than before.
Thank you.
Yes, we hope that helps you.
Yeah, I had one more question about my experience in it. Where you said that that my experience of not being able to serve because I don't feel connected to myself that definitely resonates. And like the deeper core feels like I don't get to, like there's some, I think there's attachment about being myself and not experiencing myself in it as well.
Well, remember, you are always yourself. You are always exactly who you're supposed to be and as you ought to be. So it's, again, accepting the full spectrum of human emotions as part of you and stripping away the belief systems that cause you to identify with them, and knowing that, again, the full spectrum of emotions is a part of creation. It is not necessarily representative as who you are as a being. It's representative of creation. Yet the highest frequency of creation is bliss. And in the state of acceptance, when there's no more resistance to the lower frequencies and all sorts of frequencies, and there's also no more identification with this frequency that I'm experiencing is who I am or means something about me, naturally you experience bliss. And in some way, you can experience a mix of energies as this process begins. It begins when you feel anxious to notice that the anxiety is coming from that identification with another emotion. Become aware of the anxiety, become aware of the emotion that it's trying to get rid of, and then become aware of the bliss. You will be able to notice all of those energies simultaneously. You will be able to feel all of these are different frequencies that are continuously vibrating. And these frequencies are something beyond me. They are something beyond the individual self, yet they are also guiding you to connect with your own soul. And by being able to hold all of these energies simultaneously without letting the mind get stuck on one or the other through its identification, you find bliss within the uncomfort, within the anxiety, and suddenly those feelings dissolve.
Amazing. I love it.
Yes. So practice this actively. When emotions come up, bring your awareness into them. Feel them without identifying. And then imagine, when was the last time I felt huge waves of bliss? Where did I feel that energy in my body? And hold that bliss with your breath. Send the bliss into the places where the anxiety is. And without trying to force yourself to change, witness what happens. Let it be natural. Let it be effortless.
Amazing. I just got a similar message from my channel this morning around another thing that was coming up. So it's more confirmation of that same practice for myself. And this is also reminding me of an experience I had maybe last year where I hit all these emotions in one moment. Like my being was happy, sad, bliss, peace, scared, all in one. It was really amazing. It was kind of like all aspects of Shakti energy all embodied in one moment. And it was so beautiful. That's kind of that visual is what I'm seeing.
These are the experiences we were talking about that happen as you cross the threshold, as you really let go of your attachment to lower dimensional experiences. You move through these intense fluctuations. And when you get these epiphany moments where you feel the full spectrum of emotional expression all at once, yet have no attachment to any of them, and completely surrender to the sensation of all of it.
Yeah.
You create a space of emptiness in your being, and all that remains after many of these experiences is bliss. So use that experience as a memory. In a way, bring it into your daily meditation and practice to remember what that felt like. And when emotions come up again, that can point you back as a permission slip, as a reference point to total surrender. And once that surrender is genuinely total, bliss will fill the space you've emptied in your vessel.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thanks to you as well.
Excited to be in it. Having
We are
tears of
excited.
joy and happiness. Yeah.
To jump in.
Yes.
I've just said yes to my own spiritual awakening. So I'm shifting through into my higher vibrations. And my biggest anchor point right now is my romantic relationship.
All right.
I have really heavy attachments to not leaving him behind. So my question is I still have hope, and I don't want to give up. So my question is, either is he ready to join me? Or
Well, before we answer the question, we want to offer you something. Break the connection between hope and fear, because you don't have to give up hope to give up fear, but somehow you're creating an energetic connection between the two of them that's keeping you in this state.
Okay.
Do you see what we're saying? A little bit?
Yeah, my fears are blocking the hope and blocking the positive frequency. So the negative frequency is blocking the positive because I'm collapsing the two.
Yeah. Yes. As many of you assume in your world, in order for you to move towards the positive and get what you hope, you have to get rid of all of the negative things and face all of the negative potential before. And that keeps you battling other people's demons rather than floating in your own state of surrender. Remember that whether or not he chooses to raise his frequency or not is his loss. And remember that not just with him, but with all people that choose to pull themselves back into an old earth reality when they see you awakening. It is not personal. It's that you are starting to bring in a higher frequency of energy that causes them to be repelled from you. And again, because the process of awakening involves these sort of convulsions, you could say, or these contractions, rather, much like going through the birthing process. There is contraction, there is expansion, there is leveling up to a certain vibration, and then there's being brought down into a lower frequency until you more completely surrender. That for some people who awaken around you, you will be a midwife for their birth. You will watch them move back and forth quickly between love and fear and love and fear. And the same process may happen within you as well. The idea is that you surrender control to your higher self, and you let your heart accept everything that's potential, knowing that if he does not choose to meet you on a spiritual path, then simply out of the fact that you are vibrating at a higher frequency, you will attract something that will support you even better than he does now. And this is a very important part of the path as well, that you let go more completely of the specific things that you think will make you happy to prioritize the state of happiness, bliss, and joy itself. Remember, anyone that's holding you back from your happiness doesn't really serve you. And while they have made you happy at other times, if their fear is so strong that it enters your body and causes you to feel fear too, then you may need to walk away from them and let them choose whether or not they want this path of awakening. If you love someone, set them free. If you love yourself, you will set yourself free from attachment to this specific person and all specific people. And paradoxically, as you let go of your attachments, your bonds, your connections, that sense of being loved, validated, seen, and held by others will get stronger. Because remember, you don't have infinite time in your lives. And the time that you give to people that bring you down is time that you're not giving to people that lift you up and really see you for who you are.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other question on this subject?
Dante, I would like to say something if it's okay.
Yes.
Palladian Council, I would like to add that my experience, I've lost my husband 6 weeks ago. He died six weeks ago in earthwards, but my experience was surrendering completely to that experience, and it gave me an overwhelm of love, peace, serenity. And even though we went through many situations together, so we caused each other pain, etc., that soul, my husband's soul, gave me so much. And this is the realization: when you surrender to all the experiences, it brings you that peace, and knowing that that person gave you so much, they didn't take from you, they give you so much. This was my experience. I would like to share it. Also, I have a question.
All right.
What is the best way we can work on our shadows without waiting for them to surface in a remembrance or an emotional reaction to that experience? How can we work on our shadows in a peaceful way?
There's a couple of ideas we'd like to introduce, and one is the idea of meditation and scanning your body for where there are sensations of discomfort and noticing what moves through your mind as you focus on the discomfort, not as a way to get rid of the discomfort, but just as a means of tracking it. Witnessing the discomfort, you can, if you are a visual person, visualize light going into that part of your body. If you are an auditory person, you can imagine there's a hum of vibration that moves perhaps from your head or your ears into that part of your body and starts vibrating it with energy. There's many other ways of using your imagination to support this process, though it is simply one of focusing on these sensations, tracking them, accepting them, neutralizing them, and knowing that your body is always directly connected to the unconscious workings of your mind. And therefore, when you create a state of calm and ease in your body, you will also be at peace with your shadows, and they will not move you to act. Another way of doing this, if you need to work at it at a mental level, is to ask yourself, what am I the most afraid might happen? And another question, what might be the worst thing that someone might perceive me as? And answer these questions and then accept the conclusions your mind comes to. These practices will lead directly back into the first practice of scanning your body, because if you send yourself down these pathways and you get to frightening conclusions, naturally, levels of that fear will start to move through your body for you to be able to scan it, process it, and work it out. This is what we would suggest as shadow work. It doesn't need to be more complicated than this. At the first levels of healing, for people who are very stuck, shadow work involves catharsis. That's the screaming, yelling, crying processes. And some of you might find at the early stages of your process, having someone facilitate something like this helps. That's not to say that you aren't advanced if, again, you find yourself having a cathartic moment. But the idea is, in the early stages, people are more emotionally repressed and therefore require more of these experiences. There are some levels of repression that might continue for a period of time on your path that you're not aware of. And as you rise to heights of bliss, there might be sudden moments where, again, that sort of catharsis is necessary. But if you're feeling joyful, it doesn't need to be forced. If you find yourself emotionally numb, unable to feel, unable to know what you want, unable to make clear decisions, you might have to seek out facilitation to move yourself through an experience of catharsis. But beyond those levels of numbness, confusion, and stagnation, don't seek catharsis, let it happen. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, and I thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. So remember as well, shadow work will happen naturally when you do the light work. When you raise your frequency higher and you get closer to what it is that's representative of your truest bliss, any fear that's present will show itself by contrast. So you don't need to go hunting for the shadows. Focus on the bliss and note that the shadows will be present the closer you get to it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Our thanks to you. And so we'll say one thing more that might shed some light on the previous questioner's concerns. And remember that the best way to guarantee the outcomes you prefer when you're engaging with other people is to not have any insistence on what they choose. It might not be manipulative in the traditional way that you consider it manipulative, but when you have a very strong attachment to what other people choose, it creates an energetic pressure that somehow, through the laws of vibration, attraction, and repulsion make it so that they are less likely to make the choice that you are attached to. And this is again why loving someone is setting them free, but also you don't set anyone else free without setting yourself free. So setting yourself free from your attachments is actually the best way to get a closer connection with other people in your life.
Wow.
And some of
Wow.
you may know, when you are with people that have no agenda for how your time together has to go, a state of wonder emerges within you, and you really feel connected to who you are. When you are with people who have an agenda for how things have to go, even in subtle ways, there is a level of constraint that makes you feel that you need to eventually be free from their presence. Note this in your own experience, and it will help you relate to others in clearer ways as well.
How do I let go of my agenda?
Yes.
How do I let go of my agenda?
Let go of your agenda. Well, it's an understanding that the agenda, the story, even the intention at its core is something that your mind has contrived with the core intention of feeling love. And when you accept that love itself is already within you, and this higher intelligence of love in your heart has a plan that is better than anything your mind can develop, then you will naturally let go of your agenda with more ease. You won't force things, you'll just let them happen.
Thank you.
Yes. The more you do this, the more you'll know how true it is. The more it will seem second nature to you. For when you have experiences of simply going with the flow and letting love guide you to be your true self, you will see that synchronicity will always provide you exactly what you need. Do this more and more, and it will become absolute second nature to you. And you will eventually get to a point where all of your insistence totally falls away. And it will then feel as if life is a movie you're watching, because every decision you make will be so obvious and things will simply get better and better.
Mm-hmm. I have one question if there's time. Don't want to take
Yeah.
up. What's in the way of me fully surrendering to my higher self and my guides?
The belief that you know better.
Can you say more about that?
Well, in your world, you're all trained that you have to become absolute experts, and you develop so much knowledge that serves you. But the shadow of your seeking for knowledge, and you're seeking to have the very best perspective and the very clearest ideas, the most finely tuned understanding, is that all of these pursuits of knowledge are guided by your fear of unknowing. So accepting what you don't know will set you free. Accepting that you don't know will set you free. Accepting that you don't need to know will really set you free. And you'll get to a point where even if you don't know something in the moment, you will recognize that you need to know everything you need to know. And what you don't know now, you will know when you need to know it. And that is true for all of you. What you don't know now, you don't need to know. And facing that fear of the unknown will let you actually know a whole lot more. And this leads into channeling, because, for example, when the channeler or another channeler is channeling, they don't necessarily know what is going to come out of their mouth as they start a sentence, because this higher consciousness is speaking. The channeler has stepped aside. And the channel learns more and more to lead the entire life as if it is also channeling. There's challenges when it comes to waking life and being in that flow of channeling a little bit more than just doing it in a channeling state. But they lead hand in hand together. And that's why having a practice of flow is very helpful. Remember that acts of creativity you love, acts of physical movement that you love, acts of pleasure that you love, that bring you into such a great flow that you stop considering the next move before you make it, and everything feels as if it's happening automatically in a blissful and pleasurable way. Prepare you to live your whole life in that sort of a flow state. Your brain changes in a way that you are able to tune into higher frequency energies at will more of the time.
I love it. Can't wait to let go and not know anything.
Yes. Well, again, when you let go of knowing, you will actually know more. It's accepting that you don't know something that lets your mind open to knowing more, and knowing in an intuitive way rather than just in an empirical way.
Yeah, I know they're waiting. My hands are always tingling, and since you started this specific topic, my hands are tingling again.
How exciting.
Yeah. I just need to love myself more and let go and trust. And
You are love. You don't need to love yourself more. Just remember and act in loving ways, and you will remember more and more all the time.
Yeah.
This idea of loving yourself in your world is itself a bit of a distortion, because if you are loving yourself, it presupposes that you are not yet loved.
Yeah.
So even let go of that. Accept that you are love. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And live it as an action by doing what you love. And then you will know that you are loved.
Yeah.
There will be no more self in the mix. There will only be love.
Yeah, that's the thing that's in the way, not fully doing what I love every minute. So I'm not experiencing love and being loved. Yeah, thank you. Love you.
I think as well. And we love you unconditionally as well.
Yeah.
Somebody else has a question at this time?
Good day, beloved consciousness of Navagaya.
Hello.
I wanted to ask about our ascending systems. For example, one topic that came up recently in a discussion with a friend here was our economy. And gosh, I'm so happy to leave a fear-based system, but we want to talk about our new systems. Can you talk a little bit about how we integrate these love vibrations in our exchange and economy, and how we leave behind fears of lack and limitation, please? Thank you.
Well, the core is accepting that abundance is the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. And this then translates into getting clear on what your needs really are, and removing some of the layers of fantasy around what you think you need, and accepting that you will be a lot happier when you meet your truest needs for nourishing and rejuvenating your body in the clearest ways, and having loving connections and nourishing your creative expression in the clearest ways. It's simplifying your lives and knowing that as you live joyful lives day to day, you are totally living in abundance. This will lift your vibration into gratitude, and some of the fear that gets triggered when you compare your present day situation to perhaps something you've created in a vision board or etc. will fall away. Remember that these tools of manifesting only serve you as much as they become mirror reflections for you to celebrate this moment in joy and gratitude. And the more you do that, the more you will attract everything that you need. That's the basis of it.
I like that. I like the attraction aspect. I had a big shift here personally recently and left behind a lower vibration person and have moved myself physically. And I just sense the changes, and I'm an impatient person. And so I want the improvement so rapidly. And I feel fear from others. And they talk about, this, oh no, what's going to happen? And I so want to help put them at ease. So I like having some tools to share with others to help them kind of get on that vibration.
Is by accepting where they're at and not trying to change their frequency. Because when you try to lift them up from fear with force, you actually reinforce their fear. You're saying at a subconscious level, I need you to feel different so I can feel different. And instead, embodying trust and being totally nonchalant about the fear in the room will help you transform the fear in the room. It's not to deny the elephant in the room, of course, but it's to face it head on, but also be okay with that. Let others know that their fear is representative of their own beliefs and their own choices, and is not representative of your personal beliefs and your personal choices. Be a radiant example of the kind of frequency that your own personal beliefs and personal choices emanate. And as you do that, the fear will vanish around you.
Thank you.
Yes. There's one other component to this sort of subject we want to reflect, and that is the idea of knowing your intrinsic worth, knowing that you are inherently valuable, and that just because you exist, that's the only expression you need to know that you are valuable and that you are worth something. This means savoring your own energetic output. And again, it also means that you don't attempt to convince others of your worth, because again, convincing paradoxically reinforces their belief that you don't have worth. And again, their own belief that you or anyone else isn't worthy is simply a projection of their own beliefs about themselves. When you accept that, you will take space from those energies, and you will find in quietude that connection to your own worth and your own power. As that energy raises in your being, you will attract people who see it and recognize it and validate it. Remember, once you know it yourself, the others who see it too will be pulled towards you, and you cannot convince anyone of it with your mind.
Instead of justifying or defending or explaining or arguing, are we just clarifying in other words, in order to have a discussion with someone, am I just clarifying my belief instead of defending my position? Explain the difference there a little bit for me.
All defense creates barriers. So there need be no argument. Accept their position for what it is and accept your position as what it is. And in that, there can be some understanding that fundamentally you may disagree. And this acceptance will come with some level of facing defeat in a certain way, that you might have a belief system that tells you you have to prove yourself to others. But a higher understanding is that truth needs no proof. It is self-evident. All truth is self-evident. So resting in your truth is more powerful than debating. Resting in your truth is more powerful than arguing. Resting in your truth is a space of peace, whereas any other form of convincing or debating is an attachment to conflict.
Thank you for the clarity. I appreciate that. We love you very much.
Yes. Oh, we love you too. Unconditionally.
Well, if no one else is going to jump in, we talked last time about my children, my hybrid children. Can we talk a little bit about them and the process of introducing ourselves to them?
Have you had any contact with them since that time?
Possibly in dream state. Yes.
How has that worked for you? What have you seen or experienced?
I think I have some fears around meeting them. I mentioned that last time. So I think I'm just getting tiny little glimpses as I prepare myself for the interaction, but it's almost like I'm watching through like a fuzzy TV screen, and I can see some things that I'm just observing them playing, for example.
And some of the fears being let go of the more you see it?
Yeah, it for me, that's I don't picture myself as a mother kind of thing, and I don't have kids here, so it's more about but yes, I'm releasing stuff all the time.
Not responsible for these children in the same way that you would be responsible for Earth children. In a way, these children already have parents, and oftentimes many different people have contributed DNA to these children before they were created. And so the sense of them being children simply means that there's a genetic connection that leads to an energetic connection that will allow you to have playful exchanges of energy that serve you and them both. The only responsibility is literally the ability to respond to that energy.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to feel the have to, or I need tos when I'm interacting with them, so that just experiencing their joyfulness and play is
That's all that I asked of you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
It's exciting to think about. So I enjoy talking about it.
And we are excited for you.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, yes.
I just thought, as you're saying hybrid children, they're actually hybrid adults. All time is now. So the encounter with them could be mainly in their adult state. They're descendants from our DNA in some way. Is that correct?
Well, in the sense that some of you have already contributed DNA to beings that have matured and come from their maturation and come through across time and space to meet you. Yes, you could meet, in a sense, your children in adult form. But the idea of the beings that are introducing themselves to you now are that many people are meeting children that will one day come to land upon your Earth. So they are nonetheless coming from a future point to meet you on astral planes, though eventually they will also manifest in the physical.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Any other questions from the Zoom room? Otherwise, I will go to a couple of written questions.
All
I
right.
have a question. How do I open my channel with more verbal expression as well as song and dance, like full embodied channel of all of expression?
Giving yourself the space to explore it, and opening yourself more to that idea of flow state, and remembering being in flow state is letting go of insistence. So you may have to get more comfortable fumbling a bit to see bigger results, and know that over time you'll get closer and closer to the flow state.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So what are the YouTube questions? We are curious. We're not sure where he went.
Oh, sorry. So the question is, when I go into deep meditation, I cry a lot automatically out of bliss. What is happening? Am I letting go of my sadness? Do we get pure this way?
Absolutely. Belief systems and the emotions that correlate are not just on the level of subtle energy. They are also stored in your body to some degree. And crying, sweating are some of the ways that your body releases them. Of course, when you let go of waste in the way that you mean that in your world, you're also letting go of some of them. So naturally, your digestion can expel some of these chemical constituents of the stuck energies in your body. But there's some level of these things that can only be released by crying. And whenever you cry, your body is both releasing the built up energy as well as it's producing waves of connective hormone that help you feel more connected to other people in the world around you. So if you can cry in every single one of your meditations, you're doing a very good job.
Very cool. And there's a question where I don't really know what it's about, so I'm curious too. The question is Spooky 2, called the Miracle Frequency Cancer Treatment Machine, really effective for all diseases?
Yes, if you believe it to be. Because again, with all healing, it is simply a permission slip. Placebo is the most effective treatment in the world because all you need in order to heal is the belief that this is going to heal you. That said, Spooky 2 and other such devices that work remotely with frequency attunement are very effective ways to heal. Though you can go beyond this concept entirely when you use it as a permission slip to get to the point that you are being simply made of frequency. So instead of needing an external device to attune your DNA to a frequency, use your consciousness to attune your DNA to the frequency that you prefer. If that frequency is simply a more healed state, imagine what a more healed state must feel like and stay focused on that long enough without insistence that you then attune your frequency to that state and everything unfolds.
Such a beautiful answer. Another question is, I saw a political commentator called Eric Weinstein say that the answer to the question of what's the most important thing a new president of the United States can do? He said it was disclosure. Can you talk about that from your perspective? What's the importance of disclosure, if any?
Disclosure both lets the cat out of the bag, so to speak, that you're not alone in this world, and that helps people in a variety of ways. The natural conclusions that people make when things are disclosed is, first of all, that there is much more to reality than that they have assumed to be true, and that you as humans are not the smartest beings that exist, and therefore instantaneously there is a shift in the sense of hopefulness, in that there are many belief systems in your world that are collectively shared, that you are parasites on your planet destroying it, the world is going down a negative spiral and things are getting worse. But if the idea is introduced that there are beings more advanced than you, and it is a fact that there are, and people start to believe this, the frequency of your planet will shift into a more optimal state. And again, once disclosure takes place, there is a small gap in time between disclosure and open contact. And that is why disclosure is, in this sense, very extremely important for the future of your world. The next conclusion that people come to is that their government has not been telling them the truth. And those who have had their eyes open have had enough reflections of this idea in recent times. Not all of them have bought into it and understood these facts just yet. But again, if the government then comes clean about this, it does create a ripple effect where people start to ask for the truth to be revealed in so many other ways that creates a movement towards transparency in your world. And so then, yes, disclosure is in this sense extremely important. Though what this commentator means is not just disclosure of extraterrestrial life, there's also disclosure of many other secrets. And yes, this will come to the light. And some people might find that their excitement is knowing these truths and letting other people know about them, without, of course, insisting that they must wake up to something that they don't want to know about. Because again, that reinforces resistance both in you and in the other.
Very beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's check with the Zoom room one more time if anyone has got any questions.
Yes, if there's any new participants that have not yet asked a question, we would love to hear from you. And if not, we will conclude.
I'd actually like to ask a question.
Yes.
Been holding off a little bit because there's sort of more of a topic, so maybe I'll ask it a little more generally that way. I've been really curious about the concept of spiritual lineages that we experience here. I'm currently living in a place, for example, where there's a lot of influence from Tibetan Buddhism specifically, and I've had the opportunity to interact with monastics, for example, for the first time in my life, and being around that energy and recognizing how differently they are able to navigate spiritual concepts. But I'm feeling a little bit maybe confusion because I also recognize or feel like I'm recognizing there is like more hierarchical structure than I'm used to, as it is like more formalized into a religion. So I'm curious if it's my Western experiences that are influencing the way that maybe I'm projecting some things onto that. But in general, just kind of curious about the concept of lineages, if it's important to focus on that during my spiritual blossoming versus being able to kind of just hold to my own experience, which is more often what I do.
Well, for the idea of a lineage also involves there being an energetic connection to those who have come before. And in this way, people gain a connection to spiritual guides that can act like protective spirits or allies in some ways, though there also comes the other side of this, which is that sometimes these spiritual guides have their own attachment to the traditions carrying on in a specific way that then becomes a limiting voice in the minds of those receiving the connection to the spirit guides. And yes, there are many spirits connected to lineages who don't want the practices to change. They don't want them to be adapted to modern contexts. And sometimes this creates a sort of stagnancy in a way that people live more in the past so as to maintain the connection to those who have come before. That isn't to say that this is invalid. These souls have their own specific mission in terms of what they are to bring into the world. And the idea of preserving wisdom that is forgotten is very relevant to some souls and is part of this larger framework of reality that serves its own specific purpose. For some people, learning from these lineages or those who participate in it only is a teaching, is a way of connecting with some specific ideas and energies that will serve you on your individual path. Whether or not this is something that is relevant for you is up to you to decide. Is it really exciting for you? Is it your bliss? Are there things that you would like to learn from it, but perhaps you move on to something else? You decide. That's all. Remember, there are also guides that don't come from the past, but from the future. And their intention is to bring the future into the present, just as much as some of the guides who have come from what you call the past come to the present to bring the past into the present. And you are the meeting point between these two specific types of beings. Your own past lives and your future lives converge in the now. Some of them teach you about how to meet the world in its limitations. And some of them teach you how to break the limitations that can be broken to create something new.
Wow. Thank you.
Oh, thanks to you as well. And
There's one
we
more
can say
question.
about the past, remember that often you have this idea that you glorify the past. You glorify the time before the invention of certain technologies and this and that and the other thing. And the benefit of the past that you can bring into the present is the idea of spaciousness. Because before the modern era, you didn't have this overflow of information. And naturally, people would find more spaciousness, more surrender, more openness in their day-to-day life. That's something that is not as present now, that you might have to force into your life now by creating the space for it. But the past also had the limitation through the very same thing. And this is the idea of a lesser degree of connectivity. And moving into the new Earth timeline is about accelerating connectivity that is within yourself, within your own brain, creating more neural pathways that allow you to be a more connected and sensitive being. And this is why, for some of you, the awakening process is something that you resist, because you are surrounded by so many energies that you don't prefer. The idea of becoming more sensitive, which is naturally a part of the process, is something that might bring about levels of pain. And therefore, you need to be able to create the space in your life, again,
coming back to our original message, by individuating more, by breaking free from other people's expectations of you and other people in general that don't hold the same core frequency as you, that don't share your passion, your joy, your bliss, letting it be okay that you walk your own paths so that you can then become more sensitive, because many of you block your sensitivity and that openness to energy because you are attached to things that would cause you to feel pain if you really opened up. And this block on your path that you are questioning and you are resisting is actually serving to protect you and is there for a good reason. So create the space and you will become awake by becoming more aware and more sensitive. Awake, aware, and sensitive are interconnected, and you can't have one without the other. Now, we don't mean sensitive in the way that you say in your world people are oversensitive, in that oversensitivity in terms of beliefs is when people get emotionally very flared up when someone doesn't agree with them. That is, in some ways, the opposite of the sensitive we are describing, but that's a story for another time. What was the last question then?
The last question is, are there any good ways to change bad vision physically so that we can get rid of our glasses? How would we solve this bad vision going into the future? Thank you.
That depends what it's caused by. If it's caused by the shape of your eyes, you would need to do something like a LASIK surgery. Of course, over time, if you have very powerful psychic beliefs, you could change the shape of your eyes simply through will and belief alone. That would be a great feat. So there are certain degrees of blurriness that are actually caused by liver toxicity. And the idea of taking the specific herbal regimens and approaches to detoxify your liver and eat a diet that causes your liver to be happy and free will allow you to be very healthy and then have better eyesight. And of course, on an emotional level, your liver connects with anger. And it's often having repressed anger that leads to the toxic lifestyles and dietary choices. People who use greasy food and intoxicants to suppress their anger are the ones who develop liver toxicity and therefore start to lack both inner and outer vision.
Fascinating. Thank you so much. I think we're done for now. And thank you so much for all your wisdom. This was definitely one of the absolutely best transmissions ever. So thank you so much.
Our great thanks to you, and we assure you that the transmissions only get better. The more your own energy shifts and moves deeper into the new earth, we are very excited to continue to meet you and support you in working with yourselves in this way, allowing the bliss that you naturally are to be more fully present in all that you do. Our great thanks and unconditional love, and we wish you a fantastic rest of your day then. Okay. Wow, that was fun.
It was great.
Thanks everyone for being here today. It was a great group. And yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So again, a reminder, DanteStarshine.com is where, if you are moved by this, you can book sessions, join the channeling course, get some of the channeling books that are out there, and donations to support these sessions are always super welcome. It's on the contact/book a session page. This is the book. I'm in Italy now, and we met a psychic recently who, even though she doesn't read English, her way of working with this was just opening to a random page and putting her hand on it and taking in the energy from it. And she said she's going to buy it, even though she can barely read it, and put it next to her pillow to tap into the information and energy in it. So there you go. Even if you don't want to read a book that looks as big of a textbook you had in elementary school in some way, I
I suggest you do, and just have it around because it emanates a frequency. Selling myself a little bit here, awkward, but necessary to own our worth, right? That's the message. We are worthy, everyone. So thanks for being here and for supporting this in your own way. How's everybody feeling, and how was the session today?
This was amazing. I really hope that everybody will give themselves a chance to re-listen or rewatch it again, because there were so many things that you can pick up from it a second time. I guarantee 100%. And I don't say this like.
Yeah, it came up for me. I own both books, and wow, they're both amazing. And the question about economy in particular, the channeling your innate value goes into so much interesting depth when it comes to those things. Like, I mean, it feels like an entire book about that. And every time I sit down with it, it's really, really profound. So highly recommend. I mean, both.
Thank you, Sasha. Yeah.
Dante, you're the best. You're absolutely the best. There is nobody.
My ego is going to be so bad after this.
I'm sorry. I mean, you really are pure. Your channeling is so pure. It's fantastic, and it is getting better, and it is amazing. It's amazing. And just being here next to it and it flowing, it's amazing. Wow.
Oh,
love it.
Good to hear.
That's great. Nice.
Thank you.
Where in Italy are you?
What was that?
Oh, sorry. I was asking where in Italy.
Civitanova Marche.
Yeah, it's in Le Marche, opposite Yugoslavia, opposite Split.
Yeah.
Across the Adriatic. So the other side of Italy that people don't know about. It's lovely here.
Yeah,
it's lovely here.
Right. Well, it's like an old medieval town. It's like a walled city. And it's like, I don't know, like the energy here is like, it's deeper. There's more like the sense of spaciousness.
It's rural.
Feel like it feels like ancient somehow.
Yeah. It's rural.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And also pizza, pasta.
Oh, let's not talk
glass
about
of wine.
Too much. I need
Gelato.
I need to cook my Indian style food in quinoa to feel like I can actually digest the other things I eat.
We're having a good time.
We're having a great time. Yeah. An integration before it gets wild again, you know?
Oh, fun.
Oh yeah, so we have another YouTube channel. Check that out. I mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, and we got the card there too.
It's the camera.
It's there.
Answers from other worlds. Nice.
Answers from other worlds.
Is that did you change the name from Pleiadian Perspective, or is that something else?
Yes. I was asked specifically to get it in Italian. Because I'm in Italy, I was asked to get the translation sorted. And I realized that Pleiadian Perspective, I mean, it's a PP, but it doesn't really ring in other languages. So we spent a time trying to think, what can I do that translates well into every language? And in the end, after looking for something, we came up with answers from other worlds, which I think it has two meanings. Firstly, it's answers from the Pleiadian world. But secondly, this idea of quantum jumping, when we get into our own other worlds, our own future, our own sideways, our own other opportunities, it is like entering our own other world. I've entered another world of my own through the consultancy here, where I'm just happy. So I've found the answer, other worlds that I didn't even think existed, where I am happy, where I am doing fine. You know, that's it. Yeah. So I do like the answer to the world, and it translates well into every language with clarity. So we had to do something about the translation. The other thing is, originally it was very much like it's Pleiadian, but that distracts from the real aim, which is being happy. So I found that the people who are too focused on Pleiadian don't want to get on and get the message, which is follow your passion, be happy, be enlightened. So we've gone through a phase where it's been a little bit kind of ET focused and random, and we're going to move towards wellness and happiness and joy. That's what we're making now. We're entering a new phase now. It's going to be how to be happy, how to be.
We've been recording a lot of new content now that's going to be coming out over the next some months. That's different from what was there before. But I think, you know, just like in the guidebook to Living Love on Earth, there is big chapters on like the other, you know, the karmic connections between Earth and these other places where the guides come from. And, you know, connecting with our guides is a really amazing step on the path. Like when I was awakening, I'm like, oh, well, I'm meeting my past lives and then these specific ETs, and like, why is that there? Like, why is this what I'm the ones that I'm specifically getting? And I think these sort of stories are kind of like this new mythology, like a channeled mythology that's ancient, but part of our process now that helps us kind of piece together, like, okay, like I'm meeting Pleiadians because their mythology includes so much of these things that acts as a parallel in my life. Or, you know, the same can be true about Orion or Sirius or the hybrids, etc. It's all like this mirror reflection of the themes that we're working out at a specific time. But I mean, I do find that I'm not so interested in perpetually staying on that subject. And there's some other channelers that go on and on about things that are happening in other worlds. And I like that other worlds are coming into this world and changing this one. So that's the story.
Lovely.
At this moment.
Insider information.
Great.
I have to leave you now. That was really fantastic. Really
Thanks,
enjoyed it. And my two favorite people are in front of me at the moment, so
Thank you.
so see you soon. Speak to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Plus. Anybody else want to share something?
Pick a card.
Yeah, we're gonna pick a card.
Do a magic trick.
I don't do magic tricks. It's the card of the day. The transmission is crocodile. Oh, I picked this in the very beginning. Crocodile, like, watch out, don't go into the swamps, kids. That's what this one means. Something down the swamp won't get you. Crocodile means resting, submerging, collecting energy, getting eaten in the swamp. No, just kidding. The crocodile reminds us to step back from the external world and turn inward. Now is not the time for decisions, actions, or discussion. The crocodile's mantra is wait. This doesn't mean lying around hoping life's changes will disappear. The crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, gathering our awareness, observing and building energy. Fill up the vital reserves to your next move comes from a place of wisdom and power. When in balance, wise, patient, a silent powerhouse. When out of balance, feels stuck, lashes out. To bring into balance, rest, makrasana, pose. There you go. Great.
Divine timing, no controlling.
Yeah.
Is that from Kim Kranz's deck?
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, I saw some of her other decks too, and they're pretty amazing.
I work with the Archetypes deck a lot.
Yeah. This is the only one I have. It's the pocket style one for traveling, and like I can't
I can no longer accumulate things. It fits into a very neat little box. So
Yeah, lovely.
yeah, I'm done with big things.
Our archetypes deck is big and the cards are round and the box is round. And I travel with it always, and I get stopped at every single airport because in the scanner it looks like they told me recently it looks like a big lotion container in the scanner. And apparently lotion in certain situations can explode on planes.
Your archetypes are that's a burst, man.
I was like, all right, cool.
Every tax.
No. All right, everyone. I think that was a great one. So
Yes.
see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
blessings, love, magic, everything. Next time.
Grateful for y'all. Ciao.
Hearts open. Thank you. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for doing this.
Welcome. Yeah.